Okay, now to the point. We have some housekeeping to do. We have several meeting minutes. Could clerk give the list of meeting minutes?
Sure. December 28th, 2017, January 4th, 2018, January 8th, 2018, which was the organizational meeting, and the regular meeting on January 8th, 2018, and January 16th, 2018.
We have a motion.
Response. President, I think you need to ask if there's any objection to waiving the requirement of the clerk to read all those minutes.
Very good. Please. Yeah, okay. Unless you really want to just,
No, I do not.
Okay, by the word. So, as suggested.
I'll move to waive reading.
I'll second that. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Serena?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammer?
Yes.
Aye. I move that the minutes of the meetings of December 28th, 2017, January 4th, 2018, January 8th, 2018, organization meeting, January 8th, 2018, regular meeting, and January 16th, 2018, minutes be approved as submitted.
Second. Discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Serena?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes.
Commissioner Troy?
Aye.
Okay, resolutions. I'll strike that. Public comment. Now, is our first opportunity for the public to comment. If there's anyone that has anything they'd like to address this board with, please rise, give your name for the record.
Walter Siegel. I'm
Your
sorry I
address,
have
please.
any, pardon?
And your address.
4525 Boyding Drive, Perry, Ohio. I'm sorry that I haven't been able to attend these last couple meetings, but many of you know I had a very serious issue with my daughter, so we've been out of town. I don't understand when Mayor Clough suggested this was a conflict of interest. I wish he would have cited what part of it. I believe the prosecutors looked at it, and I believe there is no conflict. I have over 25 years' experience in economic development. I've overseen the construction of roadways and infrastructure. I've worked on many grant projects where Perry's been lucky enough to get several $1 million in grant money. I have the support of many of the local communities, Painesville Township, Fairport, Perry Village, Madison Township, Madison Village, Perry Schools, and the Painesville City School, or Painesville City. I was just recently elected chairman of the Lake County Planning Commission, which I've served, I believe, since 1993. When Commissioner Hammercheck asked me about serving on this board, I was looking very much forward to it. Still am. I've recently retired as administrator of Perry, and I look forward to the next challenge in my public service. Thank you.
Anyone else? Close this first portion. And now we'll go on to the resolutions. Madam Clerk?
In the engineer's office, resolution approving the amendment to the Ohio Department of Transportation State Funds Exchange Agreement number 28035 for Lake Hopkins Road Bridge Replacement Project in the city of Mentor, PID number 93498.
Shall move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second. Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Serena?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes.
Commissioner Troy?
Aye.
Resolution authorizing advertising for bids for the improvement of various county roads with the chip seal project, bid opening February 21st, 2018.
I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second. Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Serena?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes.
Commissioner Troy?
Aye.
Resolution authorizing advertising for bids for roadway materials for the Lake County Engineers Road Department for the year 2018, project number 2018-01, bid opening February 28, 2018.
Adoption of the resolution.
Second. Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Serena?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes.
Commissioner Troy?
Aye.
Resolution authorizing the Lake County Engineer to purchase $236,363.64 in federal credit bridge credits from the Allen County Engineer for use as local match for eligible federal bridge projects for a total cost of $130,000.
Move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second. Under discussion, do we have someone from the engineer's office? I think this would be the engineer himself. Sir, if you would, please share us the advantage of this opportunity.
Okay, what this is, bridge credits. First of all, let me explain what bridge credits are. Bridge credits are part of the federal program wherein if you rebuild a federal bridge, but you do not use federal money, you can apply for credit for that towards a bridge project in the future. Excuse me, and these credits go to the local share, and you can use bridge credits up to 3/4 of the local share. So for instance, if a bridge the local share of a bridge was $100,000, you could use $75,000 worth of bridge credits to pay for that, and then locally you would only put in the $25,000. They do allow these to be sold between counties. This particular group of bridge credits was generated first in Medina County, and the Allen County engineer did purchase them, and he found that he could not use them, so he put it out to the county engineers if there was anybody interested. Basically, we're paying 55 cents on a dollar for these credits, which means we will generate $106,000 of basically free money. And we have 3 bridges in the pipeline, one later this year, one next year, and one following year. So these credits will be used up quickly. They don't run out. How this works is that when you purchase these credits, the CEO, our county engineers organization, which manages a certain amount of federal funds for bridges, will receive notice that these credits are ours. We will tell them what bridges we want to use them, bridge or bridges. Then they have to take part of their federal allocation, and that for the dollar value of the credits, and we will get that in addition to the 80%. We'll get those dollars towards the bridge, and we'll just pay the difference. So that's what this is all about. It's a pretty good deal. This is the first time we've had an opportunity to get them and use them. We don't have enough bridges to generate credits on our own in general. We've got sufficient federal funds for all our bridges, so this is an opportunity which I recommend that we take.
And Jim, the county who we're getting them from has to pass a resolution making those available?
Yes.
So they've already done that?
They've offered them to us. We told them that we wanted, they sent us an agreement. I think that may be part of this, we have to sign, all right, one of us has to sign. I sign it. Anyways, yes, that's all taken care of on their end. All they need is a signature on the agreement and a check, and we're good to go.
Just make sure, although we're spending money to buy these, we're actually freeing up money to do other projects.
Yes, yes, and we
That's
do
what
have
we
it,
need, you know.
we have money in the budget. We got in, we made sure it was there.
Thank you, Mr. Finance. Is that further discussion?
Well, not to say our next County Commissioners Association Board of Directors meeting, I will thank Commissioner Noonan from Allen County for the partnership.
Hearing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Serino?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes.
Commissioner Troy? In the Utilities Department, resolution authorizing advertising for bids for limestone sand for the Lake County Department of Utilities, bid opening February 21st, 2018.
Second. Discussion. None being heard. Roll call.
Commissioner Serino?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes.
Commissioner Troy? Resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with Mannequin Smith Group Incorporated for the Lake County Department of Utilities.
Adopt the resolution.
Discussion.
And Chairman, will point out that the Utilities Department has been using the Mannequin Smith Group now for quite some time for all of the professional and technical work needed to properly operate our landfill under the statutes of the state of Ohio. Utilities Department is doing a good job in protecting the interest of Lake County and making sure that we cross all the T's and dot all the I's and everything that we have to do to operate our sanitary landfill. So certainly support this resolution.
Very good. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Serino?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes.
Commissioner Troy?
Aye.
Resolution increasing appropriations within the Lake County Department of Utilities, Water Project Fund 595, for McMacken Road Waterline Replacement Project 388W and Main Street and Narrows Road Waterline Replacement Project 389W.
For the adoption. Second. Either way, Madam Clerk. You can call, got it. Discussion? None being heard, roll call please.
Commissioner Serena.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Troy.
Aye.
Resolution transferring appropriations within Lake County Department of Utilities Sewer Project Fund 596, Deerfield Relief Sewer Project 366F.
For the adoption. Second. Discussion? None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Serena.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Troy.
Aye.
Resolution awarding a bid contract in the amount of $285,850 to Monte Construction Company Incorporated for Main Street and Narrows Waterline Replacement Project 389W.
For the adoption.
Second motion.
Discussion? None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Serena.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Troy.
Aye.
Resolution awarding a bid contract in the amount of $622,660 to JS Bova Excavating LLC for Deerfield Relief Sewer Cedar Glen and Crestwood Project 366F.
For the adoption of the resolution.
Second. Discussion? None being heard, roll call please.
Commissioner Serena.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Troy.
Aye.
Resolution awarding a bid contract in the amount of $307,000 to DB Bentley Incorporated for McMacken Road Water Main Extension Project 388W.
For the adoption of the resolution.
Second. Discussion? None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Serena.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Troy.
Aye.
Resolution certifying unpaid sewer and water sums and administrative charges to the Lake County Auditor.
Adoption of the resolution.
Second. Discussion? None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Serena.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Troy.
Aye.
And the Commissioner's Office, resolution appointing Walter R. Siegel to the Lake County, Ohio Port and Economic Development Authority Board of Directors to complete the remainder of a term expiring December 31st, 2020. This resolution was tabled January 16, 2018.
And I will move to take this off the table.
Do we have a second? Madam Clerk, next item on the agenda, please.
A resolution to place an additional tax levy of 0.4 mil on real estate within Lake County for necessary requirements for providing and maintaining police equipment and personnel for the Lake County Crime Laboratory as provided for in section 5705.19J of the Ohio Revised Code on the ballot at the May 8, 2018 primary election.
I'll move for the adoption.
A second, then. Discussion? None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Serena.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Troy.
Aye.
Resolution appointing Police Chief John P. Gielink as a member of the Lake County Narcotics Executive Board to complete the remainder of an unexpired term ending December 31st, 2019.
Move for the adoption of the resolution.
I'll second. Discussion?
Mr. Chairman, as we know, for some time we've had a narcotics agency in Lake County, 7 members, 2 permanent members, the Lake County prosecutor, and 1 member of the Board of County Commissioners, 1 mayor or city manager or administrator, and then 4 police chiefs. The appointments of the 5 non-permanent members are all made by the Board of County Commissioners. We've traditionally gotten recommendations from the Police Chiefs Association. Chief Baumgart from Kirtland was on the board. He retired from his position as police chief, and this is appointing Chief Gallick from Manor on the Lake to that open seat on the Lake County Narcotics Board for a 3-year term expiring at the end. Well, actually, an unexpired term is the remainder of Chief Baumgart's term. Will run until the end of 2019.
Very good. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, excuse me, roll call please.
Commissioner Serena.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Troy.
Aye.
Resolution authorizing the Lake County Board of Commissioners to enter into a federal equitable sharing agreement with the United States Department of Justice and the United States Department of the Treasury on behalf of the Lake County Prosecuting Attorney's Office to receive federally forfeited property and/or funds.
For the adoption adoption of the resolution.
Second. Discussion. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Sereno.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Troy.
Aye.
Resolution authorizing the Lake County Board of Commissioners to enter into a federal equitable sharing agreement with the United States Department of Justice and the United States Department of the Treasury on behalf of the Lake County Sheriff's Office to receive federally forfeited property and/or fines.
Move for the adoption.
Second the motion.
Discussion, please. None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Sereno.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Troy.
Aye.
Resolution authorizing the Lake County Board of Commissioners to enter into a federal equitable sharing agreement with the United States Department of Justice and the United States Department of the Treasury on behalf of the Lake County Narcotics Agency to receive federally forfeited property and/or funds.
Move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second. Discussion. None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Sereno.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Troy.
Aye.
And the Finance Department, resolution increasing appropriations for various general and non-general fund accounts.
Move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second. Discussion. None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Sereno.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Troy.
Aye.
Okay, this brings us to departmental reports. Utilities Department.
Nothing to report today, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. Family Services.
No report today, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. County Administrator.
No report.
Thank you, sir. Finance.
No report, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Troy.
Yep. I believe that we just made aware, was the latest, that in the final payouts of the remnants of the MCO sales tax change and all that, if you recall that as negotiated deal, we got the legislation was an additional $50 million that would be spread between all of the counties and the transit authorities based on their sales tax history. So we've just been notified that the money is either on the way or is here right now for that. Our share of that $50 million will be $425,000. So the only other thing that we will get out of that is if, in fact, as part of the legislation, the budget finishes with a surplus on July the 1st of 2018, then an additional $30 million would be made available. So I would assume that $30 million is 3/5 of the $50 million. So if that happens, we'll get another 3/5 of $425 million or $425,000. So that's about $250,000 probably, and then that's going to be it in terms of the finality of what we used to receive sales tax on Medicaid managed care organizations.
And we did receive the money, and it actually was deposited.
Okay, right. But as we all know, that means that that's a little bit of relief for money we have lost that we will lose in 2018, and the loss will be permanent of $1.7 million, which is, so we'll be short $1.7 million effectively for 2019 and thereafter.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Clerk.
No report.
Thank you, ma'am. Legal.
No report.
Thank you, sir. This brings us to the old business section. Do you have any old business for this board?
I do.
Commissioner Sereno.
Okay, well, I feel like a mosquito in a nudist colony. I'm not sure where to begin. We have had, in fact, Commissioner Hammercheck at the organizational meeting, the minutes of which were of great difficulty to do, so congratulations on putting that together. You made a reference to what we do here is making sausage, and I took exception to that because I don't think that really belies what we do here. But this whole business of Mr. Siegel's candidacy is sausage making, and we should be ashamed of it. There is no reason for us to continue week after week to table this when we had two objections stated last week and the week before. The first was this proposed conflict of interest or incompatibility that has now been legally determined. Neither of those two exist. Although I think if you search long enough, you could probably find a potential conflict with just about anything, lacking recusals. The other objection was Mr. Siegel's gender, apparently, which to my knowledge has not changed in the ensuing weeks. And there is no reason to continue to table this issue here. He's qualified, was was elected the other day unanimously by the Planning Commission to be their chair. He is, there's no downsides to this candidacy, and to put Mr. Siegel through this, after all the recommendations he has made, coming here to speak with us today, to continue to put this off for no reason, and I think we ought to put it to a vote. I don't know why, Commissioner Hammercheck, you won't second, or Commissioner Troy, second a motion to take it off the table. What are we waiting for? Some new information? The gender is not going to change. So why don't we take a vote and go on record, if you want to turn down a qualified candidate recommended highly by his community, then stop hiding behind a tabled resolution and let's take a vote. This is ridiculous. This is sausage making, and you're responsible for it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do we have any other old business?
Chairman? Yeah, I just want to point out that, again, there's been a vacancy, and the Port Authority was expanded from 7 to 9 members. I think it's been very clear for probably the last 4 months that we've always had a female member of the Port Authority. I felt that on a 9-member board, we should have at least 1 female. We probably should have more, but we should have 1. We interviewed 4 people. I interviewed Wally. I haven't raised any issues. In fact, I have no problem with Wally. I have appointed Wally Siegel on 7 different occasions to 3-year terms on the Lake County Planning Commission. But again, we interviewed 4 people. In my opinion, at least one of the female candidates was the superior candidate to be appointed to this Port Authority board. And I think as one of the members of this board, I'm entitled to my opinion. I basically still think we should, if there was a problem with those candidates, I think we should redouble our efforts to find, good female candidates. I mean, there's kind of been a pattern here. I mean, when we appointed the Lake Tran board members, we dismissed 2 women who wanted to be reappointed and put 2 males on there. So I think that, there's nothing against Wally. As Wally knows, I have supported him on 7 different occasions for 3-year terms to the Lake County Planning Commission. I just think that this particular candidate was probably the best candidate that offered not only a good background, but I think a new approach, innovative ideas on economic development in this county. So that's where I stand.
Mr. President, I also had no problem with the candidate that Commissioner Troy is referring to, but she did not have any municipal or political subdivision experience, and I felt that Mr. Siegel's experience, gender notwithstanding, I will never make a decision based on gender. That's ridiculous. And gender balance is ridiculous as well. We have to appoint people that are highly qualified, and sometimes we have more than one when there's only a single appointment available, and we have to make those choices. I don't like the idea of being accused of any kind of gender bias any more than Commissioner Troy would like to be accused of gender pandering in an election year. That's ridiculous. Okay, we should go for the highest qualified person, and let's take a vote, take it off the table, and let's go on record and take a vote. I don't know why it's on the table. I just don't understand that.
Excuse me, Mr. President, Mr. Serino, I never accused you of having any gender discrimination or bias. I mean, don't put words in my mouth. I just stated what my position is on this.
As long as we're all weighing in on this issue, I would say that referring with legal, it's my understanding that this board's primary responsibility is in the area of compatibility. The concern that I personally am looking into is, are we creating a conflict of interest through the appointment on the side of the board being the Port Authority, that is being looked at by the Port's legal counsel. So there is a process here. So I stand on the sausage making. It can be ugly, but it is a process. So,
What exactly, if I might ask, are we looking at through the court? Our legal counsel, which is the prosecutor's office, has now spent a fairly good amount of time looking at this, and are you disregarding their opinion, or the Port Authority and their board and their articles of organization have processes to deal with any potential conflict that might come up or incompatibility, and recusal is usually the remedy for that. So I'm not sure what it is, again, we're waiting for, looking for. I mean, we've had plenty of legal counsel here on this subject, and we're making sausage when we don't need to. I don't know what we're waiting for.
Very good. Any other old business? Okay. Moving on to new business.
Mr. Chairman. Chairman, I would like to offer the following for the board's consideration. Something that I've drafted in the last few days. And I'll read it in its entirety. It's a resolution urging First Energy Corporation to continue the operation of the Perry Nuclear Power Plant through the investigation and the implementation of all possible options. Whereas the Board of County Commissioners hereby finds and determines that all formal actions relative to the adoption of the resolution were taken in open meeting of the Board of Commissioners, and all deliberations of this Board of County Commissioners and of its committees, if any, which result in formal actions, were taken in meetings open to the public in full compliance with applicable legal requirements, including section 121.22 of the revised code. And whereas the Perry Nuclear Power Plant has been operational in generating electrical power in Lake County for approximately 30 years, and whereas its existence and operation has required and created hundreds of highly skilled and good-paying jobs in our county, and whereas the critical and extremely well-trained workforce has ensured not only the generation of much-needed electrical power over those years, but has also done so with a minimization of risk and malfunction that has demonstrated a most enviable safety record. And whereas the considerable real and tangible property value of this facility and its components has been vital to underwriting the cost of critical governmental services in the areas of public safety and education. And whereas Lake County government has partnered with First Energy over the past 30 years in terms of personnel and disaster training exercises to not only ensure the public safety, but also to ensure the continued licensure of the Perry plant by federal regulations. And whereas the impact of the loss of employment at the plant for these highly skilled professionals would create a devastating impact on our county's economy, and whereas the reduction of operations at the plant would significantly erode its taxable value, thus causing a corresponding reduction in the provision of needed public services to the citizens. And whereas this Board of County Commissioners believes that there is no feasibly possible way to mitigate that negative employment and tax-based impact, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners in and for Lake County, Ohio, hereby urges the First Energy Corporation to continue the operations of the Perry Nuclear Power Plant through the investigation and implementation of all possible options. These options should include but not be limited to a blend of regulatory relief, shareholder dividend adjustments, reasonable and affordable rate adjustments spread across as great a base as possible to minimize consumer impact, and whatever other options undefined at this time that will ensure the continued operation of this particular nuclear-powered electric generation facility. And be it further resolved that the clerk of the board is hereby directed to forward certified copies of this resolution to the appropriate personnel at First Energy, various local government entities in the Lake County government in the Lake County area, Lake County's delegation to the Ohio General Assembly, U.S. congressional and Senate members representing Lake County, the governor of the state of Ohio, and the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio. I present this resolution because, this is a board type of government, and this board really has not officially weighed in on this issue, and I think it's time that we do so that there's no doubt out there that all three commissioners are supportive of keeping that plant, but the final decision is going to be made by First Energy. They are going to decide whether it stays open or whether or not it's going to close. So I think, we're standing there saying we want all of these investigations, all of these options possibly investigated, because we can't have this run like the federal government where some people get in there and say, I don't get exactly what I want, I'm shutting this thing down. I'm shutting the government down. I mean, this is a difficult issue. There are countering forces at work. There are people violently opposed to any type of help here and all that. But I think we need to go on record and say we want First Energy to redouble their efforts and do whatever is possible, investigate all options, because it's that important that that plant remain operating in Lake County for purposes of the jobs it creates and has created, and the impact it has on our governmental entities' tax base. So I would move for the adoption of this resolution.
As long as we're under the new business, and Commissioner Serino, you had some thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think a resolution in support of Perry would be a great idea. Nobody would be surprised that I would be for that, certainly. But I do want to comment that this is not ready for adoption, in my opinion. It needs a lot of work. It was put in the signature file yesterday, at the end of the day, and I just happened to catch it on my way out. It was signed by 2 commissioners, with absolutely no opportunity for me to review, particularly the section that was the longest section with the direction. Now, I'm delighted that my fellow commissioners are finally chiming in here on this issue to protect Perry. But it's, we're probably 8 weeks away from a likely bankruptcy here. It's a little bit late, but let's do a resolution anyway. But the resolution was put together with 0 input from me, and I have been probably the most active commissioner, certainly, in support of Perry. And I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back. It's just been a project that I feel very strongly about. And to submit a resolution already with 2 signatures, and to read it now for resolution is a little bit ridiculous. I mean, there are components missing from this, like we should be admonishing PJM, whose decision it's ultimately going to probably be. FERC deferred to PJM to make the recommendation. There's nothing about PJM in here. Nothing about the governor, who I think needs to step up like the governors of Illinois, New York, and New Jersey did, and do something. I'm not necessarily supporting a specific solution, but let's get the people in the room together and come up with a methodology that does share the pain, and before this decision is made. And so the resolution, I'm fine with the resolution. I think it would be great to support Perry, but to present a resolution without my having any opportunity to review it or input into it, I think is a huge mistake, and quite frankly, I'm offended after all the work I've done to try to protect Perry that this has been done this way.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm offended too, because, people have gone on social media, I know you're playing the strongest advocate, but when you go on social media and say, I'm fighting, there's been a lot of things done by, I know a lot of people in First Energy. I've met with Joel Bailey down in Akron. I've met with Wendy Seeley. I've met with numerous people. As you know, at the NOPEC board, I kind of took an alternate position to where they have been, determined you've got to look at this from a different perspective from Lake County. I said, but it really is upsetting when social media, people tell me that somebody posts things on social media saying, I am fighting hard to save our nuclear power plant, but my 2 colleagues on the Board of County Commissioners are doing nothing. That's just disrespectful behavior and all that. First of all, we operate as a board. The bottom line is that this leaves a lot of options open for First Energy. This resolution is not addressed to PGM, it's not addressed to the government, it's addressed to the entity that's going to make the decision. They are going to make the decision. We are going to stay open, or we are going to close. And we're asking First Energy to look at a blend of options and all that. I have heard from people at First Energy, unless we get the ZEN bill passed by the legislature, nothing else matters and all that. I think that's kind of a closed-minded approach. And certainly, as you know, that ZEN bill's not doing very well in Columbus. Again, there are forces countering this, the Ohio Manufacturers Association, the natural gas people and all that. So, and again, we operate as a board. I get a little upset when I see things in the newspaper that say, that you attended a meeting and you did this and that, and it was all on an official Lake County press release. And I don't know where those official Lake County press releases are coming from, because I don't see them. We're a board type of government, no one commission. So this is a chance for this board to go on record and say, we are united. This dispels all of those perceptions or accusations out there that there are commissioners who really could care less if Perry nuclear power plant stays open or closes, and that's what I'm trying to do here. It says explore all options and options undefined, and if that includes PGM, I just think this states, the facts. Whereas, it states why this is a big issue for Lake County, and it also says that, you know, we're urging First Energy to use, I mean, the whole, everything that really is successful ends up being a compromise, being a give and take. And that's what we're asking for here. In other words, don't just put this, maybe your only approach is to hit the ratepayers, maybe a combination of ratepayers lessening the impact upon them, but maybe redirection of maybe some very, very nice stock dividends that are paid out to shareholders in this country. Also maybe looking at regulatory relief in terms of some of the hoops they have to jump through to do that. So again, I'm just saying that, you know, I'm stating a position here that I think the board should take, and it's never too late in the process for us to do this. And very honestly, nobody on this board has initiated formal action by this board except this commissioner. So, well, and I'm being criticized for it.
Mr. President, I would welcome the opportunity for the three of us to talk about this resolution, the wording of it. I'm fine with the resolution. This thing just came out of nowhere. And I think it's important enough that we should have the opportunity to discuss the content and do any tweaking that we want to. There's no reason to have this show up in a file for signature as sort of a last minute timing, and that's all I'm asking for. I think it would be appropriate for us to work as a body, as you said, and make sure that it's worded properly and it is focused on the right thing. I think, you know, let's face facts. A resolution from the Board of Commissioners isn't going to do very much. It's basically taking a position, and it's a good faith effort, and I'm fine with all that. But it's pretty late in the process, and it needs to be, if we're going to do it, we should make sure it's worded correctly.
Again, excuse me for, you know, I mean, I do have some background on actually writing legislation and resolutions. And again, I've seen nobody else do this. I said, let's, again, in terms of the signature file, yes, the resolution, I worked on it on Tuesday night. I finished it up Wednesday morning. I put it into the signature file probably about 11:45, noon yesterday. Okay, everybody sees what's in the signature file. So I didn't spring it out here. I mean, it's been seen and all that. And again, it was an attempt to dispel any misconceptions. You know, when I've talked to Perry workers out there, and they tell me that, well, we're under the impression, and we're being told by others that you could care less if we close out there. I said, where are you getting that? Who is inferring that I am opposed to doing everything possible to keep the Perry nuclear power plant open? Again, as I told them, I says, as a commissioner on a Lake County Board of Commissioners, who operates under statutory powers administered to us by the Ohio Revised Code, I said, I don't have the magic wand to keep that plant open. Boy, if I did, I would certainly wave that wand and do that. But I thought, this way at least it shows that to everyone out there that there's a united approach by the Board of County Commissioners and urging First Energy to do whatever is possible, go back to the negotiating table, go back to assessing what needs to happen here. But the main thing is, just don't sell this off and walk away. Because we certainly know how important that plan is. I've pretty much been in office for the history of that plan, and there's been issues down in the legislature regarding tangible personal property tax with that plan and all that. And everybody that was around at that time, probably Wally remembers when they were moving a lot of money out of Lake County to other counties in the state of Ohio. We're trying to fight that and all that. So again, I'm just stating a position here, and again, I've moved for its adoption, and if it were allegedly late in the game, why do we want to wait longer?
The point of order, Dave, we are in new business. Is it appropriate to propose a resolution for adoption in new business?
It is a decision for the board. Robert's Rules of Order have been formally adopted by the board, and quite frankly, at the end of the day, it is a decision.
Okay.
Okay, as long as we're under discussion, I'll just take a pass on the finally. I regret that you feel that way. The discussion about PJM and the governor, very legitimate points. Delighted that we're actually finally talking openly here. That's a good thing. My question is, if we try to do one document that says and does it all, I believe that document's going to fall short of the overly burdensome and complex. It seems like it'd be reasonable to perhaps have companion resolutions, all with the same purpose, being tailored to the specific bodies that we're trying to address. So it seems that it would be appropriate to put a package together, get all of the thoughts collected, and aim them where they need to be. And I regret that it sounds like some of us are going to play baseball here, but I don't have an objection to that document as written. And I see the merits of what Commissioner Serena was saying, and I believe they would be appropriate to be tailored to.
Well,
So,
Mr. President, I think that we're not talking about a lot of changes. There are probably some words, a sentence that I think we could probably, the three of us work out. We don't need another, I don't think we need another document, certainly. So, you know.
you could always move to amend, that would be an appropriate venue. I'll just defer to legal, am I correct? This would be the appropriate venue to move
First,
forward?
you
Available to the board.
If there were a second, of course.
First, you need a second to bring it up for consideration, okay? And again, this resolution is directed at First Energy Corporation. I think you say, we're gonna ask First Energy Corporation, we're gonna ask PGM, we're gonna ask the governor, we're gonna ask FERC, we start throwing all that in the same resolution. There's nothing wrong with additional resolutions, stressing that, but again, I think this, the strategy to keep this plant open has got to be generated by First Energy, because they're the ones that are gonna make the decision. Are we going to close this plant, or are we going to remain open? So in other words, I don't think, we should be in a position of saying to all of these other people that we favor this, we favor that, we favor that. We're asking First Energy to put together a package, a blend of whatever is necessary to make this thing happen. So again, everybody now, so maybe we need to wordsmith this, maybe we need to change this and all that. Excuse me for actually taking the initiative to put something together and present it in front of this board. Because nobody else has done it to this point.
I just think the appropriate review was missed at this point. I think there's probably not a lot of changes that I would recommend, but I think we should table this until we can talk it through. 1 week isn't gonna keep Perry open in spite of all the other difficulties that we have here. I'm not sure what the rush is at this late date. So it just makes sense to give it the proper review. It's an important document from all of us, and I'd like the recommendation to be unanimous, certainly. I think that would send the right message, certainly. So, let's take some time and talk about it as a body, and make sure it's all just right, because there are other parties that have telling First Energy, well, please stay open. Well, yeah, okay, that's wonderful. It's more complicated than that, okay? In other states that have had this exact same problem, the governor and the legislature have also stepped up. I'm not focusing on First Energy. I don't care what the company would be, I would be doing the same thing. I think we should make sure that when we talk about all parties coming together, yes, the final decision is ultimately going to be First Energy. No question, everybody knows that. But there are others that can be involved and help find the right solution here, whether it's the Zen, whether it's some other legislation, whether it's PJM deciding that for energy policy reasons it needs to stay open. There are other parties here, and I just want to identify them. And it's that simple. And I think, we're not going to do this in front of everybody here, but I think we should take some time and just make sure it's correct, and then I'll be happy to vote for it.
Mr. Chairman, I'm really wondering with what I've read here, that there's a possibility that it might not receive unanimity at this particular board, because again, it's addressing to the issue, and it's including all those options. The wording and what other options undefined at this time that would ensure the continued operation. It's basically saying, we are passionate about this. We want that plant to stay open and all that. And so, and in terms of the I just find it interesting that we've got two legislators out there who are allegedly fighting hard for, and you make sure you refer to them in your social media, a state representative and a state senator representing that area, and you can't get a meeting with the governor? I mean, legislators of the same party can't get a meeting with the governor. I mean, I can tell you, when former commissioner and then state representative Sines and I worked together in Columbus, and we'd have issues involving Lake County, we would contact the governor's chief of staff, and within a day, the two of us would be sitting there with Governor Voinovich getting an audience on these things. So I don't understand, you know, why we're having such difficulty here, and we're you know, we're saying, well, we can't get a meeting with the governor and all that. I mean, I can't believe that legislators aren't able to secure something like that, because you'd be sure we have to do it in my day.
Okay, so if I'm clear on this, the language as suggested by Commissioner Troy, what is there in and of itself is not objectionable. It just,
It's incomplete in my opinion.
so it could take the form of an amendment, or it could take the form of companion documents that would come along with it.
Or another option is to table it until we can agree on it, and
Sure, there's
let's do
nothing
it
to
next
table
week.
right now because there isn't a second, so we're
Right.
just discussing new business.
I mean,
Okay.
we're all, Mr. President, we're all for keeping Perry open.
Agreed.
We all agree on that. So, and I think it's just more than wordsmithing. Yes, Commissioner Troy is correct.
Well, could you modify maybe some of your comments out there then? Because you know, really, I've never dealt with such disrespect in my entire career, that you just don't do that to your colleagues. You work together.
Is it not disrespect to put that in without ever consulting with me or asking my view on the Perry issue? I think that's,
I put in the signature file. It was not hidden from you.
okay.
Okay.
Continuing on those thoughts, so we can all agree that the timing is not critical, is to come together at our next meeting. I think we've all agreed on that. And I think for the benefit of all, we really need to express and explain, because the signature file has been this mysterious thing. It's an old 1950s serving tray that the documents are put in, and when a commissioner signs something, it simply says, we've read it, we've seen it, we're acknowledging that we've looked at it. It has no legal standing, it is not a formal action outside of a public meeting. I'm staring at my legals. If he comes out of his chair, then I've said something wrong. So the signature file is just an acknowledgement that we've seen it, we've looked at it. The custom is, if there are 2 or more signatures, it moves forward to the agenda. I was made aware that Commissioner Serino had other things he wanted to add. I am delighted that we had a very open and candid conversation here. Quite frankly, I believe it's long overdue. So I think we've got much ground to cover. We have a lot of interests in this county that we need to protect. We've demonstrated that we're trying to serve. We each have our areas of expertise, but we are all equally yoked to the law. So I suggest that we work together. I believe Commissioner Troy's document is very good and fantastic, and I believe that if time critical, I believe it's going to be a part of the record that was proposed today. So I guess it's just as good as a timestamp. As discussed, I think I'm going to look to legal. Have I adequately described the signature file, what it is and what its purpose and intent?
I believe you have, Commissioner, yes.
I don't wish to exhaustively go
That's
over
my
that, but
understanding of the custom.
it seems to be a reoccurring problem, that the signature file is looked at in many, many different ways, not always. Under new business, one thing that I think we might benefit from down at the CCAO, we actually had a breakout session that we all attended regarding civility. We might want to take them up on their offer to have some training classes on that. I'm not trying to be a smart aleck about it, I'm just saying we might want to actually research that. So as we go through this process, I think we might want to benefit from others' experience. Any other new business to come before the board? No other new business to be discussed, thank you. With that, this brings us to the second public portion of our commissioner meeting. If there's anyone who has anything they'd like to say, please write your name and address for the record and proceed. Sir.
Larry Riker, 2828 Antioch Road, North Perry. On the Mr. Siegel issue, Mr. Troy refers a lot to dotting the i's and crossing the t's. I think in this case we have. The 2 issues that we had were resolved. I asked about a third issue last week, was there any personal feelings involved? I was assured there are not. Now, we've tried to bring it off the table again today, and we're unsuccessful doing that. To myself and the audience, it's hard for me to understand why. If we do want to put the other gender into that seat, then why don't we take the necessary steps to reopen the issue and get a nomination for that and vote on it that way. But regardless of what we do, I think that it's time to resolve this issue and decide who is going to be on the next member of the Port Authority Board. The second issue I have, I just want to make a comment. Commissioner Troy referred to Commissioner Serino as using social media for the power plant situation. I would like for everyone to know I have been with Mr. Serino in a small way, and he's been with this power plant situation from the grassroots up. He's the only commissioner that I've seen at all these meetings and promoting and pushing and traveling, communicating with other counties, trips to Columbus, trips to Washington, D.C., with our mayor, and other members of our community. I just wanted to clear that up. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? Sir?
Thank you, Commissioners. Ken Gautner, Madison Township Trustee, 6039 Meadowwood Drive. I too would like to urge the board to take action on this Port Authority appointment. Madison Township, we're doing a lot of work with the Lake County Port Authority right now, trying to save Stanton Park. It's important that we do have qualified people on that board. I've worked with Wally on many boards in the past, and he's more than qualified. I sat in this very room 10 years ago, or better, when the Port Authority was created. At that time, Commissioner Awfuldish, Commissioner Troy, Commissioner Sines, we're looking for the best qualified people to sit on that board. As I recall, we were looking at qualified people. Gender didn't matter, and as I recall, the first Port Authority board did not have any females on it. I could be wrong. Who was that? Dan?
Lisa Havey, ran a manufacturing company.
Okay, I'll give you that one. But gender was not a determining factor. It was who's qualified to sit on the board. And I know the Board of Madison Township Trustees has sent the commissioners a letter in our support of Wally, and we think he's more than qualified to sit on that board. He was director in Perry for many years with their economic development group, and we would like to at least see this either get off the table, either appoint him or move forward. Thank you.
Thanks. Sir?
John Music, 45 Covington Drive. This week I had an opportunity to take a tour of the Lake County Crime Lab, and I want to thank the prosecuting director for giving me that opportunity. And I just want to say, I encourage, just like you all know, that I'm against a lot of tax increases, and there are some of them that we need to do. And like I've talked about, the true barometer of this county is how busy is Job and Family Services, the Sheriff's Department, the Prosecutor's Office, and now recently the Coroner's Office, because we had to extend some money over there. And now also I would include the Crime Laboratory. And I am saying after my tour, and I learned and educated and informed myself about what they do and how they do it. I do not believe that most people in this county really know. And I hope all three of you have had a tour of that facility. It's like saying I don't like a Ford, but I've never ever had one. But the thing about it is, in my opinion, like I said, I do not like tax increases. But just like I supported the seniors and the children's and so forth, and just like I have a sheriff's levy in my area and I have a fire levy, and I would think, in my opinion, that the Lake County Crime Lab is a great use of taxpayer money. Unfortunately, our country has been going in the wrong direction in many reasons over the past years. Hopefully, we can do things, and the crime lab is one of those things, that can help correct the problems by finding out who actually does what, how they did it, and why they did it. So, therefore, like I said, I would encourage everybody to take a tour and inform and educate themselves on what the crime lab is and what they actually do. And I recommend that to the three of you. I do not know if you have been there or not, but I highly recommend everybody to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to address the board? Sir?
I just want to thank the board, Chuck Olson, Lake County Prosecutor. I just want to thank the board for the unanimous support of the Lake County Crime Laboratory. This is the most important crime-fighting tool in Lake County, in my opinion. And I appreciate your support, and hopefully we'll be successful in November and keep the crime laboratory strong and solving crime.
You said November, you mean May?
Yeah, oh, did I? Misspeak.
You don't want to put it off, do you?
No, I do not.
Don't start your campaign in August.
On May 8th, end of May. Thank you very much for that correction.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else caring to address the board? Sir?
Joey Tomsick, Lake County Council on Aging. Since 1994, the Council on Aging has sponsored a Senior Citizens Hall of Fame. And this year, we are opening nominations again, and those nominations will run through this month of February. We're looking for those individuals who have made a considerable impact in the community since their retirement. So these might be folks that are 60 years of age or older. Nominees must be residents of Lake County for at least 5 years, and the individual, a senior citizen or perhaps a couple, have made considerable impact. And we've been doing this since 1994, and we'll be honoring these special people at our annual meeting. So at this time, nominations are open, and we're looking for these incredible people out there that have done such wonderful acts of kindness and community impact throughout Lake County. They can contact the Council on Aging for one of these nomination forms, and we've also got it posted up on our website, and I know that Aaliyah Barajas from the Senior Services here of Lake County have also posted it. So thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll now close the second public portion. Mr. Troy?
Yeah, just a couple comments. First of all, Mr. Music, certainly, we appreciate your remarks on that. I'm probably overdue for an updated tour of the crime level. The last time I was over there, I think I was with then Commissioner Sines. And the problem was Commissioner Sines picked up a handgun that was sitting there and contaminated evidence from the crime lab. So you have to be wary what you touch on. So you don't compromise their investigations, but so thank you. And secondly, again, in terms of the Perry thing, there's been a lot of meetings on that, and certainly, if I'm aware of meetings, I will try to attend them. If I'm not aware of meetings and I'm not informed, then I can't get to them. But I mean, there are a lot of things. I remember back early last spring, I attended a meeting over in Westlake with representatives from Ottawa County and Lake County. The Lake County School Superintendent was there, Commissioner Stahl from Ottawa County, some the economic development professionals from Ottawa County, the county executive from Summit County, County Executive Shapiro. So there were discussions about what's going to happen, what are all the options out there. It's very difficult and all that. But there's a lot of times we do things in meetings. We go, we attend, we try and make progress and all that, and maybe some of us just don't overly promote those out there and have to let everybody know here's exactly what I did today. Personally, I don't need that much ego massaging or self-ego massaging. So, again, there's to say that that people have been absent on this is not true. I talk regularly with Senator Seitz in Columbus because he was chair of the Energy Committee down there. I said, what are the chances of some of this legislation getting through? So again, there's things that talk. And again, I've spoke up at NOPEC and said, listen, I understand your job is to keep electric rates low, and you don't want any additional rates paid by consumers as some sort of subsidy to the Perry Nuclear Power Plant. But you have to look at it from the perspective of Lake County. The very good, high-paying, quality jobs that this plant generates, and and the importance to the tax base. Obviously, that tax base has shrunk quite a bit from when it first went online in the late '80s, but it still underwrites a lot of quality services. So again, let's just be clear that we all want the same thing to happen. It's just how are we going to get there? It's very complex, and again, it's up to First Energy to make the call, and just hoping that that they can put together whatever type of package, and please don't do it like the federal government. We don't want this to stay open for 2 weeks. We'd like to stay this open for a considerable period of time. So thank you.
With that, we now close the second public portion. We will be asking for a motion to adjourn into executive session for legal litigation update, and personnel discipline. Commissioner Troy?
Yeah, I would move that we adjourn into executive session for the purposes.
Second. Just to be clear, there will be no business to be conducted afterwards. Any discussion? Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes.
Commissioner Troy?
Aye.
Very good, thank you.
Have a good day.